part, not all, but part of justice is the dignity of being remembered. And the state has done everything to erase the memories of those individuals, including not giving death certificates to the people who were killed here in 1915. The important thing is to understand that the hiding of that history does nobody any good, because all it does is keep festering the wounds of all these people who were killed and all the descendants who have continued to have that injustice. And an injustice unresolved in the 19-teens today is still an injustice. Even though that occurred then, the state has not done anything to remediate that injustice. And the state then has a reckoning with that history. That's when we'll start to see the process of justice occur. Trinidad Gonzalez, I'm a history and Mexican American studies instructor at South Texas College. I'm also a co-founder of Refusing to Forget, Life and Death on the Border, 1910 and 1920, that was first exhibited at the Bullock Museum in Austin in 2016. So it's a history that's the state has attempted to erase, right? So those transcripts, that was very important to be the key to justify the exhibit. Those 3-volume sets of transcripts that talked about all the killings and all the atrocities, the state hid for 50 years because they're waiting for people to die, right? So it wasn't until a historian named James Sandos went to the archives in Austin and says, hey, I want to see those transcripts, because he had found hints of it in Washington, D.C. when he was doing research there. And the archivist says, hey, they're supposed to be hidden for 50 years, right? There's a note here. And he goes, well, this happened in 1919, this is 1970. He goes, I could do math. It's beyond 50 years. And the guy goes, well, let me go ask. And they said, yeah, okay, you can see him. So he was the first person to see him, other than one other historian, Walter Prescott Webb, who wrote a book on the Texas Rangers. It's a very racist depiction of Mexicanos. He was allowed to see him in the 1930s to write his book. But other than that, they were hidden. So the transcripts were taken by a stenographer, because this was a hearing. So it was a joint hearing between the Texas Senate and Texas House that came together to investigate the Rangers in 1919, spearheaded by Jose Tomas Canales. As Representative Canales talked about his great uncle, right? And so he forced the issue by the state to have to address these sorts of these acts by the Rangers. And so I don't think when they agreed to have the hearing that it would be as damning as the transcripts came out. Because at one point, during the hearings, a committee chairman told the witnesses to stop speaking and maybe they need to talk to a lawyer, because they're openly talking about committing murder, and they were so used to the impunity, which means you could get away with anything, so used to the impunity that they thought they couldn't get in trouble for saying this under sworn testimony that what's a big deal, we're just killing Mexicans, we're never gonna get prosecuted for that. The chair actually stopped them during the proceedings and says, you need to stop, and you need to get a lawyer, right? But they were never charged, by the way. And so until we get a state to do a Truth and Reconciliation Committee to assess, to allow people to have these stories, because it's not just South Texas and What If We Need Massacre. You got the Slocum riots, you got Longview, you have all sorts of communities that have to deal with these issues. Until those communities have the ability to bring their stories to the state. If you're interested in hosting the exhibit, there's no cost to have the exhibit. The only cost you have is the production of the panels. So it's about $3,000 or $4,000, right? So if you're a smaller venue and you want to host the exhibit in your community, it's about $3,000 or $4,000 cost, depending on what the printing cost in your community is. And then you can host it. There's no cost, or there's no exhibit fee to have it, right? So we purposely want it to be accessible for small communities, right? Who can raise it $3,000 or $4,000. And then they put in their own manual labor to put the exhibit up, right? And then they could also enhance it with local artifacts if they wish to. So we try to make it very convenient for people to have it.